We have once again reached that point in the year where Disney is trying to cash in on our nostalgia. And they're back with another Disney live-action remake, this time being The Little Mermaid. At this point, it's hard to even know what to say about these films anymore because I keep saying the same thing every time one comes out. So I'm just going to refer to this clip here with Pharrell talking to a young Maggie Rogers because this clip kept on going through my head while watching this film.
I have zero notes for that. It's because you're doing your own thing. Well, to say, okay, I'm going to make this kind of song, so it ends up sounding like something we've heard before. It's like when the Wu-Tang Clan came out, like no one could really judge it. You either liked it or you didn't, but you couldn't compare it to anything else.
Obviously what this film did was the opposite of that, and it was create practically nothing new. It's The Little Mermaid. You've seen it. And if you haven't, then maybe you'll enjoy this a little bit more because the story will be a surprise to you. But the problem I'm always going to have with these live action remakes is the temptation to compare it to what the original was, which in my mind is almost always practically perfect. I will give them props though on this film specifically because I would say under the circumstances that they were put into, they did the best that they could. The problem I have though is with every one of these live action remakes, the best that you could possibly do is still so far below what the original already was. And so at very best, I didn't hate my time in the theater. And I actually think that's a really fair criticism to have, especially with Disney. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of the comparison game, even with remakes, because I think there are a lot of good remakes of films out there that do something different, add to the story. There's a reason for their existence. But the difference is Disney plays towards that comparison, especially in its marketing, and it almost wants you to play that game. They do it with the characters, the song, the classic motifs that they play in the trailers. Disney is leveraging your nostalgia to go buy tickets. So if they can play the comparison game in the marketing, I think it's fair to use the comparison game when critiquing this film. But I gotta give them props where props is due, and I do think this is one of the better live action Disney remakes. Starting with the cast itself, Halle Bailey is actually an incredible Ariel. Obviously, she's the Little Mermaid, so she has to be the glue of this entire story or it doesn't work, and she makes it work. Her vocals are top tier, and I actually really enjoy the new renditions of the music here. And if you know anything about the story, there's a large chunk of this movie where she doesn't actually have anything to say because she can't talk. But somehow she gives this incredible performance just through her facial expression and body language, and I actually think giving her this limitation of having to act without using your words causes her to excel in ways that other people wouldn't be able to do. I also think Jonah Hauer-King was an incredible Prince Eric. I haven't really seen anything else he's done, but he added a lot to this character that didn't really exist in the original. That's actually one of the critiques I have about the original Little Mermaid is that Prince Eric isn't a character at all, and so when Ariel falls in love with him, it's kind of hard as the audience to follow why. But here he has an entire backstory and character motivations that match Ariel's. So when the two of them fall in love, it's compelling because we as the audience can actually see why they're compatible together. And with those added elements, I do think that Disney is paying attention to a lot of the criticism it has received for its other live action remakes. Look at The Lion King, for example. That is basically a shot-for-shot remake with very boring and dull animals that are honestly just void of any sort of joy and life that animation often gives. And then you have Mulan, who took a lot of creative liberties with not having music or certain characters or story beats, and people didn't like that one either. And so I feel like this one is kind of a good combination of everything, where it still has all the iconic characters and songs, not really removing anything, but the elements that are added here actually enhance the story and give you a different perspective. As far as all the other technical elements of movie making goes here, I think they're, perfectly fine. It's hard to watch any movie underwater after seeing The Way of Water a couple months ago. But honestly, I was pleasantly surprised because it looked fine, and fine is much better than I thought it would look after seeing all the trailers and marketing up until this point. If I was in any sort of leadership position in Disney, I would heavily consider firing the person who was in charge of the marketing of this film. Maybe I'm just stuck in this film Twitter bubble where everyone hates everything, but the marketing leading up to this film did not do it justice at all. So overall, it was fine. I'm never going to get to a point where I'm praising these remakes and encouraging everyone to go to the theaters to see them. So for that reason, the fact that I didn't hate my time in the theater should be a win for Disney this time. So that's The Little Mermaid. Have you seen it? What do you think? Comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will see you next time.